Aha, he said vaguely. We've won. And he fainted. He came around, rain falling on his face, still lying on the field with someone leaning over him. He saw a glitter of teeth. Oh no, not you, he moaned. Doesn't know what he's saying, said Lockhart loudly to the anxious crowd of Gryffindors pressing around them. Not to worry, Harry. I'm about to fix your arm. No, said Harry. I'll keep it like this, thanks. He tried to sit up, but the pain was terrible. He heard a familiar clicking noise nearby. I don't want a photo of this, Colin, he said loudly. Lie back, Harry, said Lockhart soothingly. It's a simple charm I've used countless times. Why can't I just go to the hospital wing, said Harry through clenched teeth. He really should, Professor, said a muddy Wood, who couldn't help grinning even though his seeker was injured. Great capture, Harry. Really spectacular. Your best yet, I'd say. Through the thicket of legs around him, Harry spotted Fred and George Weasley wrestling the rogue bludger into a box. It was still putting up a terrific fight. Stand back, said Lockhart, who was rolling up his jade green sleeves. No, don't, said Harry weakly, but Lockhart was twirling his wand and a second later had directed it straight at Harry's arm. A strange and unpleasant sensation started at Harry's shoulder and spread all the way down to his fingertips. It felt as though his arm was being deflated. He didn't dare look at what was happening. He had shut his eyes, his face turned away from his arm, but his worst fears were realized as the people above him gasped and Colin Creevey began clicking away madly. His arm didn't hurt anymore, nor did it feel remotely like an arm. Ah, said Lockhart. Yes, well, look, that can happen sometimes, but the point is the bones are no longer broken. That's the thing to bear in mind, Harry. So just toddle up to the hospital wing. Mr. Weasley, Miss Granger, would you escort him, and Madame Pomfrey will be able to tidy you up a bit. As Harry got to his feet, he felt strangely lopsided. Taking a deep breath, he looked down at his right side. What he saw nearly made him faint again. Poking out of the end of his robes was what looked like a thick, flesh-coloured rubber glove. He tried to move his fingers. Nothing happened. Lockhart hadn't mended Harry's bones. He'd removed them. Madame Pomfrey wasn't at all pleased. You should have come straight to me, she raged, holding up the sad, limp reminder of what half an hour ago had been a totally working arm. I can mend bones in a second, but growing them back? You will be able to, though, won't you? Said Harry desperately. I'll be able to, certainly, but it will be painful, said Madame Pomfrey grimly, throwing Harry a pair of pajamas. You will have to stay the night. Hermione waited outside with the curtain drawn around Harry's bed while Ron helped him into his pajamas. It took a while to stuff the rubbery, boneless arm into the sleeve. How can you stick up for Lockhart now, Hermione, eh? Ron called through the curtain as he helped Harry's limp fingers through the cuff. If Harry had wanted deboning, he would have asked. Anyone can make a mistake, said Hermione, and it doesn't hurt anymore, does it, Harry? No, said Harry, getting into bed, but it doesn't do anything else either. As he swung himself into bed, his arm flapped pointlessly. Hermione and Madame Pomfrey came through the curtain. Madame Pomfrey was holding a large bottle of something labelled Skelly Grow. You're in for a rough night, she said, pouring out a steaming beaker full of Skelly Grow and handing it to him. Regrowing bones is a nasty business. So was taking Skelly Grow. It burned Harry's mouth and throat as it went down, making him cough and splutter. Still tut-tutting about dangerous sports and inept teachers, Madame Pomfrey retreated, leaving Ron and Hermione to help Harry gulp down some water. We won, though, said Ron, a grin breaking across his face. That was some catch you made. Malfoy's face, he looked ready to kill you. I want to know how he fixed that bludger, said Hermione darkly. We can add that to the list of questions we'll ask him when we've taken the polyjuice potion, said Harry, sinking back into his pillows. I hope it tastes better than this stuff. If it's got bits of Slytherin in it, you've got to be joking, said Ron. The door to the hospital wing burst open at that moment. Filthy and soaking wet, the rest of the Gryffindor team had arrived to see Harry. Unbelievable flying, Harry, said George. I've just seen Marcus Flint yelling at Malfoy. Something about having the snitch on the top of his head and not noticing. Malfoy didn't seem too happy. They had brought cakes, sweets, and bottles of pumpkin juice. They gathered around Harry's bed and were just getting started on what promised to be a good party when Miss Pomfrey came storming over, shouting, "This boy needs rest. He's got 33 bones to regrow. Out, out." And Harry was left alone with nothing but to distract him but stabbing pains in his limp arm. Hours and hours later, Harry woke up suddenly in pitch black and gave a small yelp of pain. His arm now felt full of large splinters. For a second he thought that was what woke him up. Then, with a thrill of horror, he realized that someone was sponging his forehead in the dark. "Get off," he said loudly. Then, "Dobby?" The house elf's goggling tennis ball eyes were peering at Harry through the darkness. A single tear was running down his long, pointed nose. "Harry Potter came back to school," he whispered miserably. "Dobby warned and warned Harry Potter. Ah, sir, why didn't you heed Dobby? Why didn't Harry Potter go home when he missed the train?" Harry heaved himself up onto his pillows and pushed Dobby's sponge away. "What are you doing here? And how did you know I missed the train?" Dobby's lip trembled, and Harry was seized by a sudden suspicion. "It was you," he said. "You stopped the barrier from letting us through." "Indeed, yes, sir," said Dobby, nodding his head vigorously and flapping his ears. Dobby hid and watched for Harry Potter and sealed the gateway, and Dobby had to iron his hands afterwards. He showed Harry 10 long bandaged fingers. But Dobby didn't care, sir, for he thought Harry Potter was safe, and never did Dobby dream that Harry Potter would get to school another way. He was rocking backwards and forwards, shaking his ugly head. Dobby was so shocked when he heard Harry Potter was back at Hogwarts, he let his master's dinner burn. Such a flogging Dobby never had, sir. Harry slumped back onto his pillows. "You nearly got Ron and me expelled," he said fiercely. "You better get lost before my bones come back, or I might strangle you myself." Dobby smiled weakly. "Dobby is used to death threats, sir. Dobby gets them 5 times a day at home." He blew his nose on the corner of a filthy pillowcase he wore, looking so pathetic that Harry felt his anger ebb away in spite of himself. "Why'd you wear that thing, Dobby?" he asked curiously. "This, sir," said Dobby, plucking at the pillowcase. "'Tis a mark of the house elf's enslavement, sir. Dobby can only be freed if his masters present him with clothes, sir. The family is careful not to pass Dobby even a sock, sir, for then he would be free to leave their house forever." Dobby mopped his bulging eyes and said suddenly, "Harry Potter must go home." Dobby thought his bludger would be enough to make— "Your bludger," said Harry, anger rising once. "What do you mean, your bludger? You made that bludger try to kill me." "Not kill you, sir, not kill you, never kill you," said Dobby, shocked. "Dobby wants to save Harry Potter's life. Better sent home grievously injured than remain here, sir. Dobby only wanted Harry Potter hurt enough to be sent home." "Oh, is that all?" said Harry angrily. "I don't suppose you're going to tell me why you wanted me sent home in pieces." If only Harry Potter knew," Dobby groaned, more tears dripping onto his ragged pillowcase. "If he knew what he means to us, the lowly, the enslaved, we dregs of the magical world." Dobby remembers how it was when he who must not be named was at the height of his powers, sir. We house elves were treated like vermin, sir. Of course, Dobby is still treated like that, sir, he admitted, drying his face on the pillowcase. "But mostly, sir, life has improved for my kind since you triumphed over he who must not be named. Harry Potter survived, and the Dark Lord's power was broken. And it was a new dawn, sir, and Harry Potter shone like a beacon of hope for those of us who thought the dark days would never end, sir. And now at Hogwarts, terrible things are to happen, are perhaps already happening, and Dobby cannot let Harry Potter stay here now that history is to repeat itself, now that the Chamber of Secrets is open once more. Dobby froze, horror-struck, then grabbed Harry's water jug from his bedside table and cracked it over his own head, toppling out of sight. A second later, he crawled back into bed, cross-eyed and muttering, "Bad Dobby, very bad Dobby." "So there is a Chamber of Secrets," Harry whispered. "And did you say it's been opened before? Tell me, Dobby." He seized the elf's bony wrist as Dobby's hand inched towards the water jug. "But I'm not Muggle-born. How can I be in danger from the chamber?" "Ah, sir, ask no more of poor Dobby," stammered the elf, his eyes huge in the dark. "Dark deeds are planned in this place, but Harry Potter must not be here when they happen. Go home, Harry Potter, go home. Harry Potter must not meddle in this. It is too dangerous." We will find out more about that next time. Good night.